My husband suddenly left me with a lot of money to pay back, and he's nowhere to be found. I tried calling him, but he's not responding. I don't know what to do because I can't afford to pay back such a big debt. Luckily, my daughter, Kate, cheered me up. I'm 35 years old, and I work part-time while taking care of the house. Kate's dad, Rogan, is missing, and we're a family of three. I met Rogan at a party where I was feeling nervous, but he made me feel better by talking to me. We exchanged numbers and started dating. When I told my sister, Talia, about Rogan, she couldn't believe it because I'm usually quiet and don't go to parties. Talia was surprised that I found a boyfriend at a party and thought I'd date someone from work. When I showed her a picture of Rogan, she thought he was handsome. After catching up with Talia, we said goodbye for the day. Talia, who's still single, seems content with her relaxed life and isn't really looking for a boyfriend or marriage. While I understand her perspective, I'm focused on building a future with Rogan. I imagine us getting married and having children, which would be amazing. As I headed home, I couldn't help but smile. A few years later, Rogan and I did get married. I'll never forget the overwhelming emotions when he proposed and our move to a new apartment. Living together felt surreal at first, but we cherished every moment, whether it was sharing meals, snuggling under the same blanket, or enjoying our days off together. Eventually, we were blessed with a beautiful baby girl named Rhea. Her birth brought immense joy into our lives, and I left my job to fully embrace motherhood. Rogan was always supportive, helping with household chores and taking care of Rhea so I could rest. I'm grateful to have married such a wonderful person, and living with Rogan and Rhea has been a heartwarming experience. A few years later, I found myself deeply regretting marrying Rogan. After Rhea was born, Rogan suddenly quit his job without consulting me. He explained that he had been having problems with his new boss, which had taken a toll on his mental health. While I understood his reasons, I was upset that he hadn't discussed it with me first. Our family depended on his salary, and such a big decision should have been made together. Rogan's vague responses to my concerns didn't ease my worries, but I had to trust him. Thankfully, he found a new job quickly, which was a relief. I considered working too, but I wanted to be there for Rhea while she was still young. However, Rogan seemed different after starting his new job. He brushed off my questions about how things were going, assuring me that everything was fine. But his behavior made me uneasy. But I felt that pushing him further might upset him. So I handed Rhea to him and went to take a bath. A few days later, Rogan came home looking dejected. As I tried to ask him what had happened, memories of his previous sudden resignation flashed through my mind. Did he quit his job again so soon? Sadly, my suspicions seemed to be right. I quit my job, he said. I just couldn't get along with the people there. I couldn't stand being constantly directed by someone much younger than me. I just couldn't bear it anymore. I see, I replied, trying to stay calm. But we'll get through this. We'll find another job. I'll help in any way I can. Suddenly, Rogan's expression changed, and he raised his voice at me. Hey, what's with that look? You don't like that I quit? You're able to eat because I work. You just stay at home and you're acting all high and mighty. With that, he threw his bag onto the living room table. I was stunned. Rogan had never spoken to me like this before. Unable to contain his anger, he grabbed a whiskey from the fridge and downed it in one gulp. I felt terrified. I've always been grateful to him and tried to be supportive as much as possible. But his sudden outburst created a rift in our relationship. Since then, Rogan has been in a cycle of finding and quitting jobs. We've lived in uncertainty, experiencing many anxious days. At first, I tried to understand his feelings and said nothing. Given the circumstances, I couldn't stay silent any longer. You're annoying, I told Rogan. If you have complaints, then you work and earn money. You rely too much on me. But there's Rhea to consider, so what's your point? Lately, Rogan had been losing interest in Rhea and seemed to be avoiding her. When Rhea was born, he took great care of her and was genuinely happy. But observing him now, He felt like a completely different person. No matter how much I pleaded, Rogan showed no interest in continuing his work. Eventually, I decided to entrust Ria to Talia and started working on my own. I'm really sorry for having to leave her with you, I said to Talia. It's okay. Rhea and I will wait together, she reassured me. Raya, who had just started attending kindergarten, wasn't a major concern when it came to leaving her with someone. Part of it was because I trusted Talia to take care of her. But Rhea was also remarkably mature and calm for her age. She showed interest in newspapers, read them on her own, and could even write long and somewhat complex sentences. Rhea had a quiet disposition and was exceptionally composed for her age. When she started kindergarten, I was concerned about whether she'd be able to make friends and communicate effectively with others besides me. However, it turned out I didn't need to worry. Ryan made many friends in kindergarten and enjoyed her time there. As a parent, that was the most heartwarming thing to witness. Given the situation, I felt it would be no problem for me to work outside the home. When I started looking for a job, I found one quicker than expected. Thus, I began working full-time. The pay was better than I had anticipated, so even if Rogan quit his job, our finances would probably stabilize. Thankfully, the work environment was also pleasant, despite the busy days. I enjoyed working. A few years after I began working, Rogan finally found a stable job. It seemed like he might have finally found a workplace that satisfied him. Upon learning this, I felt a profound sense of relief. Over time, Rogan's demeanor started to brighten, and he seemed to return to the man I knew in the early days of our marriage. He became considerate of the challenges I faced juggling work and family, often asking, "Has it been tough? Aren't you tired?" I was a bit taken aback by this transformation. Perhaps job stability had given Rogan peace of mind. Ryan was growing up healthily, and Rogan started acting like a caring father to her once again. Seeing Raya play joyfully with Rogan always warmed my heart. Still, the thought of returning to the way things were before made me anxious about leaving my job. Therefore, I continued to rely on Talia for childcare. "How's Raya? Is she looking well?" I asked Talia one day. "Don't worry, she's playing happily," Talia reassured me. As long as Rhea was doing well, I could be at ease. I'd probably continue to depend on Talia. I had been considering treating Talia to something she liked as a token of my appreciation. Several years went by, and Rhea was now in the 3rd grade of elementary school. She attended school every day with great enthusiasm. The family's bond was just like before, harmonious and loving. I wondered what had caused the previous rift between Rogan and me. Our home life felt so stable, almost as if the past problems had been forgotten. Then one day, Rogan made a suggestion. "Ever think about getting a new car?" "A new car?" "Yeah, our current one is good, but I think it's reaching the end of its life. If it's becoming a hassle to maintain," Rogan remarked. Indeed, the car we were using had been purchased quite a while ago, and over the years, issues increased, and the repair costs started to pile up. "You might be right. Maybe we should consider a new car," I agreed. "Yes, I knew you'd agree. By the way, I've already got some catalogs pulled ready," Rogan said eagerly. I didn't expect him to be this eager about replacing the car. I was a bit surprised, but we started looking through the catalogs together. "Rhea, come here. Which car do you want to ride in? Let's decide together." Rogan called Rhea over, and the 3 of us enjoyed flipping through the car catalogs together. However, I couldn't have imagined that this day would mark the beginning of an unexpected turn of events. A few months later, the new car that the 3 of us chose was delivered. The car we bought was a brand new model costing over $155,000. The loan was under my name. Generally, people would expect Rogan's name on the loan, but considering his unstable work history, we were concerned about being rejected. I was determined to work even harder from now on and pay off the loan. I was sure Rogan felt the same way, that's what I believed. But my hopes were shattered in an instant. Rogan stopped coming home. He disappeared along with the newly purchased car. Could it be that Rogan got involved in some kind of trouble? What should I do? At that moment, my cell phone rang. The call was from Rogan. Hello, I answered, my voice filled with concern. Rogan, what are you doing? Where are you now? You disappeared all of a sudden, and the new car is gone. What happened? Did you get caught up in some trouble? I tried to convey how I had worried every day until then, but Rogan laughed at my concerns and said something unbelievable. Actually, I found a new lover. She's more important to me than you, he said bluntly, leaving me stunned and devastated. I've fallen in love with someone else. I've already taken care of the divorce notice. I'd appreciate it if you stopped getting involved. Rogan's voice echoed in my ears. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The mention of a divorce notice shocked me to my core. However, a memory of a discussion we had during a big fight resurfaced. Submitting the application to the court meant that both parties agreed to the divorce. I deeply regretted letting my emotions take control at that time. Oh, by the way, I have a debt. I'm counting on you to repay it, Rogan added casually. What? How much debt are we talking about? I asked, feeling overwhelmed. I think $200,000, give or take. I'm leaving all the repayments to you, Rogan replied before abruptly hanging up the phone. I never thought something like this would happen to me. Were all of his kind smiles in the past just lies? As these thoughts crossed my mind, I could feel the strength drain from my body. Mom, what happened? Raya rushed over, looking concerned. It's okay, honey. Thank you. I tried to put on a brave face, but inside, I was filled with anxiety. How will I manage our life now with such a massive debt looming over us? The thought of the $200,000 made me feel suffocated. On top of that, there was still the car loan to think about. In a state of panic, I checked my bank balance. I searched the closet, drawers, kitchen, bedroom, everywhere. But my ATM card was nowhere to be found. Frantically, I launched my bank app on my smartphone. To my horror, the account balance had significantly decreased. Of course, I had no memory of withdrawing such an amount. Rogan was the only suspect. I tried to contact him, but of course, there was no response. With my mind going blank, I decided to focus on earning money. I kept this a secret from Talia to avoid unnecessary worry, and I also kept it from young Rhea. A few weeks after Rogan disappeared, I lost consciousness at work. When I came to, I found myself lying in a hospital bed. Where am I? I asked, feeling disoriented. Kate, are you awake? Talia entered the room with a shaken expression, Rhea standing beside her. It seemed I had fainted due to extreme stress. I was told that I needed to be hospitalized for several days for detailed examinations. Hospitalized. What should I do? I wondered aloud. After you're discharged, let's talk about Rogan, Rhea said suddenly. I was surprised to find out that Rhea knew the truth. When it was time for my discharge, I felt a bit down, fearing Talia might point out that I wasn't supposed to let her know about it. Then, the next day, various tests were conducted. The results revealed that my poor health was due to cancer. Fortunately, it was still in the early stages, and there was hope for recovery through surgery. Although the surgery went well, returning to work immediately seemed impossible. I had no savings and medical bills were piling up. During these challenging times, Talia and Rhea became my pillars of support. When Rhea explained the situation with Rogan and my current state to Talia, she was even more furious than I had anticipated. Talia tried to locate Rogan with a plan to make him repay the debt and medical bills, but his whereabouts remained unknown. We don't have any leads on Rogan's current location. What do we do? I asked in frustration. It was then that Talia came up with a suggestion. The car that's under your name. Rogan has it, right? How about we try to get it back? Is that really possible? I asked in surprise. Talia shared more information. Actually, I found out where Rogan is currently working. Surprisingly, he seems to be working for a different company inside the building where I work. Though I usually opt for remote work, I occasionally visit the office and have reportedly seen him there. Knowing this, We can move forward with our plan. Let's go to Rogan's place right away, I said eagerly, wanting to confront him immediately. But Talia stopped me. Don't rush. We need a solid plan, not just a hasty approach. That's right, a plan, Raya chimed in. Both of them exchanged smiles, and I couldn't grasp the profound implications behind their demeanor. Watching them silently, Rhea beamed and reassured me, saying, "Don't worry, everything's set up." What kind of scheme had they hatched? They didn't provide the specifics, but everything became clear a month later. While at Talia's house, there was a sudden incoming call. Checking the caller ID, it was from Rogan. Initially, I ignored the call, but it kept coming in repeatedly. Something must have happened. Gathering my courage, I answered, and Rogan pleaded in a frantic voice. "Hey, help me out, please. I'll explain everything later. Just get here now. I'm about to be arrested." Rogan shared his current location and quickly ended the call. Having overheard the conversation, Talia and Rhea finally revealed the turn of events. Actually, we reported the car as stolen, and the idea was Rhea's. Impressive, right? Rhea blushed and looked down, filled with gratitude. I expressed my heartfelt appreciation for their ingenuity and determination. I expressed my heartfelt thanks to Talia and Rhea for their incredible support and hurried to the place where Rogan was waiting. The park he specified was surprisingly close to my home. There were police officers gathered around Rogan, and he seemed to be interrogated about something. We hurriedly approached Rogan's vicinity. First, we explained the situation to the police officers and had them leave. Afterward, Rogan ushered us into his car and began narrating the events that led to this. Glancing inside the car, I noticed a confident-looking woman sitting boldly in the passenger seat, her legs crossed. She stared at us with a cold gaze. "Thanks for coming. But why did the police come to me?" Rogan asked, puzzled. He had been surrounded and questioned by the police, yet he didn't seem to have heard anything they said. I was so dumbfounded that I couldn't find words, because I reported the car as stolen. "After all, that car is mine," I finally managed to say. "What? We're divorced, so we have no current ties." Thus, the current situation paints a picture of Rogan as unauthorized, using another person's car. Reporting it stolen was the natural course of action, Talia explained. Rhea furthered the conversation with Rogan, who was visibly shaken. "Dad, why did you leave us behind? Why won't you pay back the money yourself? Explain." Rogan let out a sigh and looked at us with an exasperated expression, but he remained silent. "If you're just going to remain silent, I'll report it to the police. Do you realize that using my name without permission is a crime?" I warned. Hearing this, Rogan began to talk bit by bit. He mentioned his mistress, Lily. Apparently, she recently joined the company where Rogan works, and they connected during a company event. Concerns about the timeline of Lily's pregnancy, pointing out an inconsistency. "Your belly's pretty big. Is it a baby? When are you due?" Rhea asked. "In about 3 months, I guess," Lily replied. However, this calculation didn't seem right. Considering she was supposedly impregnated 3 months ago, shouldn't there be more time? Talia also noticed this inconsistency and pressed Lily further. "Is that baby really Rogan's? Isn't it odd for the baby to be due in 3 months? Whose child is it?" Talia voiced her concerns. Lily's expression faltered for a moment before she composed herself and responded, "Of course, it's Rogan's. There's no doubt about it." But Talia wasn't convinced. "Are you sure about that? The timing doesn't add up." Rogan remained silent, seemingly lost in thought. The atmosphere grew tense as everyone waited for an explanation. Lily's demeanor shifted, and she exchanged a nervous glance with Rogan before replying. "Well, there might have been some miscalculation, but I'm sure the baby is Rogan's." Talia continued to scrutinize Lily's response, sensing something was amiss. As the pieces of the puzzle started to come together, it became clear that there was more to the story than meets the eye. Talia decided to address Lily's revelations directly. Surprisingly, Lily didn't seem intent on hiding anything. Actually, the child isn't Rogan's. I thought about keeping it a secret, but I figured it'd be a hassle to get further involved with him, so I'll just spill the beans, Lily admitted. Is that why you were honest about the debt too? I asked. Yeah, there's no point being with Rogan anymore after all, Lily said with a mocking expression. The atmosphere grew heavy and tense. I felt the urge to get away from there immediately. Meanwhile, Rogan stared intently at Lily with an incredulous expression. Hey, what are you talking about? This is a joke, right? Why would it be a joke? Rogan demanded. I mean exactly what I said, Lily replied firmly. The tension increased, making the atmosphere even more stifling. Amidst this, Talia took charge of the situation. Anyway, I'll call the police, Talia announced. Huh? What are you talking about? Rogan protested. I couldn't care less about you two. But remember, borrowing money under Kate's name is a criminal act. Plus, using the car without permission is also a crime, especially since Rogan and Kate are complete strangers, Talia explained. She instructed me to contact the police. Rogan and Lily were frantically trying to talk their way out of the situation. However, I ignored their pleas and made the call. After a while, I could hear the sirens approaching. This should make them face the consequences, I thought, feeling a huge sense of relief. Finally, things were getting sorted out. In the end, Rogan and Lily faced legal action. They didn't end up in prison, but they had to shoulder responsibilities such as compensation payments, repaying the debt, and child support. On several occasions, they tried to reduce the payments through lawyers, but justice prevailed. A secret recording that Raya had made was used as evidence, leading to the denial of Rogan and Lily's requests. Raya had been inspired to make the recording after watching a scene from a TV show with Talia. I marveled at Raya's quick-wittedness and couldn't help but wonder about the kind of shows Talia had exposed her to. Now Rhea and I live with Talia, and Rhea doesn't face any issues commuting to school since the distance from our previous residence was quite close. The car was safely returned, and it seems Rogan is somehow managing the debt. If Rogan hadn't made those wrong decisions in the first place, he wouldn't have had to face such hardships. Throughout this whole incident, the presence of Talia and Rio was significant, and thanks to them, the situation is heading towards resolution. I'm determined to work hard from now on, hoping for a peaceful life with the two of them.